Tom Baker's Fourth Doctor is in his 13th season of Big Finish audio dramas. He's currently travelling around with two companions. He's travelling around with Naomi and Harry Sullivan, played by Eleanor Crooks and Christopher Naylor, respectively. Earlier this year, we talked about the debut of the season, Storm of the Sea Devils, which had two pretty solid stories. We had Storm of the Sea Devils and Worlds Beyond. Some pretty solid stories here. But now we're in full swing here with part 2 of the season, Metamorphosis, with Dominant Species dropping later on in the year to conclude this season. So Series 13, Part 2, Metamorphosis, has got 3 stories. So the first one, written by Aurora Fernley, is called Matryoshka, which is basically a term for Russian dolls. We've got The Caged Assassin by Matthew Sweet and Metamorphosis by Lisa McMullen. With, as you can see from the cover of this, we have Geoffrey Beavis's master making his triumphant return to Big Finish alongside the Fourth Doctor, but he's not the only returning villain in this box set, because this first story, Matryoshka by Aurora Fernley, reunites the Doctor against the Toymaker, who has been recast for the purposes of this box set and is played by Annette Badland, who you may remember as Margaret Slitheen from Series 1. She also played the miniaturist in the First Doctor Adventures a couple of years ago. She was also in another Fourth Doctor box set called Blood of the Time Lords a couple of years ago as well. She's quite prolific with Big Finish, and when it comes to recasting the role of the Toymaker, Annette Badland is a very capable and overqualified choice. This box set was recorded several years ago, in late 2019 in fact, so this was like way before any announcements of the Toymaker returning, which happened in like mid to late 2022. So this was like this was recorded before Doctor Who Series 12 came out, let alone when Russ T Davies was going to take over. So you can't blame this for trying to hop on a bandwagon or trying to copy the TV series. No, if anything, the TV series has copied Metamorphosis. But anyway, so this first story, this opening story, these are all two-parters. With Matryoshka, we've got the Doctor, Harry and Naomi, who are being dragged away from the time vortex by a sinister force, which takes them to the late 18th, early 19th century thereabouts. This is the period setting, to the home of a Toymaker who is grieving the loss of his daughter, who they are trying to communicate with via a Ouija board. On the way to this glamorous house of this Toymaker who makes board games, who makes toys for children and such, they encounter Madame Bissette, who is played by Annette Badland here, and she is a medium. She communes with the spirits, and the Doctor, Harry and Naomi, and this necromancer, essentially, this psychic medium, decide to use a Ouija board in order to try and communicate with the Toymaker's daughter, not the Celestial Toymaker, the Toymaker at the heart of this story. They try to communicate with his late daughter. But let's play a clip from Matryoshka.
Lord Pearson, if you could wait 1 second whilst I get everything ready.
Of course.
Did you find anything?
A few troubling suspicions.
Wonderful. They're my favourite sort.
Her room was really creepy. More like a doll museum than a bedroom.
It's an amazing place, this house. Games and toys galore.
Yeah, but it all feels a bit off somehow.
Like a show or a performance?
Yeah. Maybe we're being played?
Like a game. Possibly, that would fit.
Madame Bissett took that Ouija board.
I don't like those things.
No?
They're a bit morbid. She's been missing a year. She can't be alive.
There are worse things than death. Being stored alive as food for giant colonizing insects, for one. Western super bear during a wet November for another.
I suppose, yes. But as far as I can tell, mediums just feed off grief. This woman's only offering false hope.
Something's happened here, Harry. Or is happening. I'm not willing to dismiss anything yet.
We are ready. Thank you for your presence, Lord Pearson. A parent's love is a beacon in the dark to a lost soul.
I understand.
We should begin. Please, sit. Hands palm down. Little fingers touching your neighbors. This Ouija board holds a resonance for your daughter. I sense a willingness to connect.
And she's the only one using it. That's a trifle convenient, isn't it? I think the odds of Faker have rather shot up.
Oh, Harry.
No one will touch the board. It is here as a conduit.
So, cards on the table here. Matryoshka is an incredible story, and, you know, I hope you forgive me for butchering the name or the amount of times that I'm going to say it over the course of this review, but Matryoshka by Aurora Fernley is like the head and shoulders standout of this box set. It's such a strong opener to Metamorphosis, and one thing I really loved and appreciated about it is how it really utilizes the idea of games with the Toymaker in a way that the series and expanded medium, to like my knowledge, hasn't really done before, where it's actually like utilizing board games themselves as a conduit for the Toymaker's scheme. Because for those of you who don't know, a Ouija board, who you apparently use to commune with the dead, is not like an ancient artifact from like spiritualism or whatever. It's a Hasbro board game. You know, it's a toy. It's something like from the makers of from the distributors of Monopoly. You know, that's its main intention, and it's got the superstition around it as a whole marketing shtick. So actually having the Ouija board as one of the many board games at the center of this story is a really inspired choice. You also get stuff like Cluedo, like Snakes and Ladders, and other games as well over the course of this story. That it leans into that and gets a lot of mileage out of that conceit. But what's great about this story as well is there's a great dynamic and a lot of great banter between the Doctor and the Toymaker. And if you're wondering how on earth does this, fall in line with the continuity, obviously this was written and made before The Giggle was broadcast, and it's sort of canonized in the TV series, at least. The idea that the Doctor and the Toymaker only had one encounter outside of, the one that predates Celestial Toymaker, the story from the 60s. They had one major encounter between the Toymaker and the First Doctor, and then they meet again, the Toymaker and the 14th Doctor 60 years later. So it's kind of tough to place this in terms of the canon, but I'm not going to blame this story for that, of course. But one way they kind of get around it is the idea that this isn't so much a game between the Doctor and the Toymaker, it's a game between the Toymaker and the Doctor's companions, because the Doctor is sort of having the verbal sparring match with the Toymaker and trying his best to stop playing the game and to not play it by the Toymaker's rules. But you've got Harry and Naomi, along with Pearson, who is trying to rescue his late daughter, played by Robbie Stevens. They're traipsing across this house, trying to solve these riddles that are given to them by the Ouija board. One great set piece has them in the wine cellar, and the room keeps on flooding with the wine bottles that they're destroying at an accelerated rate. It's sort of like almost Alice in Wonderland when she's drowning in the water. Some really great visuals for what is an audio story. I could picture it all very vividly in my mind's eye, and there's some really great inspired set pieces here, really creepy moments. Annette Badland as the Toymaker is superb, because what happens is that Madame Bassett gets essentially possessed and puppeteered by the Toymaker. There's a really great climax to the story that's really inventive. I think that Tom Baker, while this is probably the first box set where I listened to this and I thought, he does sound very old, but I think he still has a lot of enthusiasm, and he does really well dramatically with his encounters with the Toymaker. And, Annette Badland is such incredible inspired casting for this as well. This is a very strong opener, a really great psychological horror thriller. I think that Aurora Fernley did a really great job with this. I'm not really sure what else Aurora has written for Big Finish. I think this is, according to the website, this is actually her Big Finish debut, and what a debut. I can't wait to see what Aurora writes next for Big Finish. I certainly hope that, based on the quality of Matryoshka, that she's going to be returning for time and time again for the Fourth Doctor or any other Doctor. But basically, I hope that after this story, Big Finish signed her up for several more in the classic era range. I think that this is an astonishingly great debut. Next up, we've got The Caged Assassin by Matthew Sweet. If I think Matryoshka is like the best story of the box set, The Caged Assassin is undoubtedly the most fun. It opens with the Doctor, Harry, and Naomi arriving outside of a circus where they end up possessing a tiger. A tiger gets inside of the TARDIS that they have to sedate and look after. It's a really great and fun opener to the story. However, there are other animals to be feared at the moment because the tiger is the least of their concerns. The tiger is heavily coated in radiation. The Doctor, Naomi, and Harry investigate. They meet Charles Gamrich, who is a supplier of exotic animals, played here by Michael Fenton Stevens. Hey, Theo, are you here to enjoy all of the animal talk? Are you the tiger? Theo is the tiger of the story. That's my headcanon now. And there's one particular species of animal that he has high quantities of, and that is wombats. And the wombats are very violent, they are very talkative, and they're very interesting. Let's play a clip from The Caged Assassin.
Mr. Jamrak, has there been a fire here recently?
No. We're well prepared for that.
So why are there scorch marks on the inside of this cage?
What?
Here, on the roof. You have to lie on your back to see them. In the damp straw, I might add.
Oh, very interesting.
What about the wombats?
What about the wombats?
Did the tiger swallow the lot?
Well, this is where they should be.
Oh.
Burrowed out the back, which is most annoying. Particularly when you had London's most eminent wombat fancier coming round. I meant to send him a telegram to put him off. I better tell the boy.
Sir, Mr. Jamrak, sir.
Ah, there you are. Send a message to Mr. Rossetti, would you?
Mr. Rossetti's here to see you, and that lady friend of his.
Oh, Himmel. Give them some tea. Keep them talking.
Dante Gabriel Rossetti, the painter.
Very good at pomegranates. And all those princesses, of course.
Oh, I've got a print of his in my bathroom.
Well, let's go and meet him then. Harry, come out of that tiger cage.
Righto, Doctor. I could do with a cup of tea.
Oh, well, I was thinking that Naomi and I could take tea with an eminent pre-Raphaelite while you take a look at the wombat accommodation. Climb inside and take some notes. Without Jamrak breathing down our necks. Those burn marks are from a focused energy weapon, I say. We must be thorough.
We must.
Don't worry, Harry. We'll save you a macaroon.
Oh, well. This jacket's ruined anyway. Oh, so that's what wombat smells like.
But when will these humiliations cease? Oh, my kith and kindred, the road is long, but it ends in victory.
Yep, the wombats talk. And as you can see from the cover, they are armed with laser guns. This is a bonkers story. And once I saw the credits afterwards, that Matthew Sweet was the writer, it made so much sense. I don't know what other Doctor you could have this pairing with, and the fact that it's Christopher Naylor's Harry Sullivan, the posh, stiff upper lip, gentlemanly Brit from the 70s or the 80s, so well spoken and dignified, and he's just going through wombat mess, and the wombats bite back. It's beautiful. It's poetry. To quote Scorsese, this is cinema. I loved it so much. It's got the best cliffhanger out of all of the stories. Like I mentioned up top, these are all two-parters, but The Caged Assassin has the best cliffhanger of the box set by leaps and bounds. It's so fun. The actors who play the wombats, the one who you heard there, Top the Wombat, played by Glenn McCready. There's also other wombats as well that you hear over the course of the story. It's incredible. It's so fun. And like Naomi, who's like a unit, like field agent, who is like still quite inexperienced, but you'd think that she would be prepared for anything, and how she reacts to the wombats as well. It's incredible. I loved it so much. This is such a fun story with a bonkers premise, but it completely sticks the landing. There's a real rip-roaring chase across London, a big ticking clock to stop the destruction of the city, and also the Queen of England as well. The stakes, I was like... The story started with a tiger, an irradiated tiger making its way into the TARDIS, and then it ends with wombats trying to kill the Queen of England. And like somewhere along the way, it should have gone off the rails, but the fact that it didn't, and that I didn't notice that it hadn't done that, is kind of a feat, like generally. Like I think that Matthew Sweet's done a great job with it, just in terms of the tone and the structure of the story. Real great stuff here. The Caged Assassin is so much fun, and it's also just a great counter to Matryoshka and also Metamorphosis, where you've got these stories with the Toymaker and Geoffrey Beavis' master, these really like dark, sinister stories with these dark, sinister villains, and in the middle you've just got this like weird, farcical wombat-laden romp. It works so well to complement these other stories, and you get the great variety here, but they still feel cohesive. Now, Metamorphosis by Lisa McMullen takes place on the planet of Jaxus, which is a planet which has got a bunch of like silver-skinned residents there, but dust clouds drop from the sky and people disappear in them. You've got Lydia West, who plays Carlo, who's one of the citizens of this planet whose father has gone missing in the mist by the mysterious fog, and Naomi and Harry find themselves whisked away as well to a prison at the center of the planet, which is being run by one of the Doctor's oldest foes. The Doctor tries to break into the prison with Carlo, while Naomi and Harry are trapped inside. But Harry, being none the wiser, he has no idea who is actually encountered in the heart of this prison, has an encounter with an old enemy of the Doctor. Let's play a clip from Metamorphosis.
Another human. How? Surely not.
Hello? I say, hello?
Help me.
I beg your pardon?
Can you help me?
Oh. Are you all right? Can you hear me?
So weak.
Hold on, old chap. I'm a doctor.
That is less comfort to me than you might think.
Sorry? Just lie still for a moment. I'm trying to take your pulse.
Something amiss? Doctor?
You have 2 heartbeats.
Well, that's good news. I'm not dead yet.
Do you usually have 2?
On a good day.
My word. You're not... Are you... You're not by any chance... Are you a Time Lord? Are you all alone here?
Quite alone. Stranded. For so long now. No way of getting home. No way of contacting my own people.
Well then, I might just have some very good news for you.
I doubt that very much.
What would you say if I told you that I came here with a Time Lord? To this planet, I mean. In a TARDIS.
No.
Yes! We got separated. Or rather, I got separated. Tripped over a rock and poof, I ended up here. Some sort of teleport, I imagine.
You clever boy.
Actually, you haven't seen a girl around here, have you? About so big, sparky.
No girl.
Blast. I hoped you'd ended up in the same place.
I love that interaction, and I think that Harry Sullivan's characterization over the course of not just these box sets, but also the 7th Doctor box sets, because he's also a companion of the 7th Doctor. Big Finish is weird, timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly. I think the characterization is so consistent and so strong that he sees an obviously evil, burnt creature like the Master, played by Geoffrey Beavis here, and he's like, no, let me help you, I'm a war doctor, I can treat you, I can look after you, and like that characterization, that sort of impulse and need to be helpful and useful and to treat people, like that stays consistent over all of the Big Finish box sets. And I love that, like, the brunt of part 1 is, you know, Harry Sullivan interacting with the Master, like learning more about him, and he's, you know, and the Master's picking up on how clever he is, like when he picked up in that clip there that he was taken there by teleport, and the Master's actually kind of surprised that this imbecile Harry Sullivan that kind of knows what he's on about, he's experienced in all this stuff. It's really strong characterization, and Christopher Naylor's performance, his impression is absolutely pitch perfect, helped so much by Lisa McMullen's jaw-droppingly funny dialogue. Like the first like opening interaction between the Doctor, Harry, Naomi, and Carlo in this story, like the first 5 or 10 minutes of the story, are so replete with charm. They're just so much wit in them. I was laughing so loudly behind the wheel of my car today when I was listening to this box set, with a joke that had me guffawing, and then at the end of the story it pays off the joke again and it made me laugh again. I love that. It's so well written, the dialogue's so good, and the performances are great. Tom Baker's terrific in this story. I like the mystery as to what the Master is planning. The problem with the story Metamorphosis, though, is that it starts so strong. However, the second half, it doesn't fall apart. It keeps the great dialogue, it keeps the great tone and the threat and the performances and such. But when it's revealed what the Master's overall plan is, there's a real sense of, oh, is that it? Like, you've got this incarnation of the Master who is so devilish and devious, in other words, beginning with D. And that's his plan. Oh, it's that bog standard. It's that sort of generic. And I kind of expected the Doctor to sort of like lampshade it, but he never really did. It was just such a generic, masterly conquer the universe plan with spoilers and stuff. So yeah, that was a bit disappointing, but I did like the characterization throughout. I like how Naomi is the inexperienced unit operative who wants to go out on these adventures, and she's leaning into the adventurous side of the Fourth Doctor, whereas Harry is the man out of time who just wants to get back home, and he's done all this. He's had his time with the Doctor, and he enjoys it, but he does want the comfort of his home. He does want the comfort of UNIT and his job, and the 9 to 5 and everything. And the Doctor's just sort of not letting him have it, and then he gets involved with the Master, and then anarchy ensues. I think that the casting of Lydia West is like kind of almost like stunt casting. Like she really doesn't have a lot to do in this story. It kind of feels like a wasted stunt casted role for Lydia West. Like, I don't know. Like she's an incredible great actress who's like could choose to do anything that she wants to right now, and the fact that she's doing Big Finish is great. But it's like, okay. I wish that she had a little bit more to do in this story. I don't know, but still, I think that it starts super strong. And the only main issue with part 2 is that the Master's plan doesn't really live up to everything else that the story is offering. But as far as I'm concerned, in the broad scheme of things, that's a bit of a nitpick. Overall, though, Metamorphosis, this box set, is stellar. I loved it from beginning to end. I can't say that we don't have like 3 10 out of 10 stories, but we've got like 3 8 or 9 out of 10 stories back to back to back that are so different. And like in the middle of this sandwich is the Caged Assassin, which is so bonkers, but it sticks the landing. And I'm going to butcher the name again. Matryoshka is like such a standout, and probably my favourite Fourth Doctor story since The Ghost of Margaret, or maybe The Friendly Invasion from the last series. I know that was only one series ago for the Fourth Doctor, but it just kind of shows how high the standard is here for the Fourth Doctor for Big Finish. Metamorphosis is a terrific box set overall. I think that it requires very little prerequisite, because I think the characterization of Naomi and Harry Sullivan is so well honed. I think it's so accessible and easy to just hop into that even if you've not listened to Storm of the Sea Devils or Sullivan and Cross AWOL or Far From Home, which are the other box sets that they have with the Seventh Doctor, I think you can genuinely just dip into Metamorphosis really easily. Dominant Species comes out in September 2024. We've got stories with the Dominators. We've got Sarah Grishella, who's a great writer, John Dorney as well, for what seems to be the finale of Series 13. This comes out in September. We'll see how this goes. But, the Fourth Doctor, Harry and Naomi, this is a really great pairing. This is inspired. I liked it an awful lot. Yeah, but long may Tom Baker continue to reign in Big Finish.